Thank you very much to Andrew for that really great introduction. And I should start by saying a broader thank you to Andrew and, of course, Basil, in particular Basil, for your leadership on this agenda in a very personal way. And a big thank you to the UK Power Networks team that's here. This is very much about companies stepping up to the plate, challenging themselves, and working out what their bit of the levelling up jigsaw puzzle, their piece, really looks like. And no one else can really do that for you. And this piece of work is about the fact that UK Power Networks is really stepping forward to set out its level of ambition. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing more widely on levelling up, a little bit about what UK Power Networks is doing, and then hand over, obviously, to Basil to really dig into this report. Suffice to say, actually, what really strikes you when you go through it is just how many fantastic building blocks UK Power Networks has when it comes to levelling up. And actually, very much looking ahead towards the future, it's about how they can be scaled up, but crucially also leveraged and put in those communities where they can really make the biggest difference to changing lives for the better. But what are we talking about on levelling up, and what is this purpose coalition that we've built? Well, levelling up for me, and I think for many of us more broadly, is about tackling the fact that Britain's a country that doesn't have equality of opportunity. Where you start really does shape where you tend to end up, and there are some very direct consequences of that. There are consequences for individuals who have huge potential but feel like they just can't get a break, and they just don't really know how to make the most of their talents and then get that career that maybe they want. Maybe they don't even know really what the opportunities are that are out there, but they have a sense that somehow if they could just find those chances, they'd be able to make something themselves. The second thing I think inequality of opportunity is bad for is communities. This sense that actually people can not only find themselves locked out of opportunity, they can find themselves in places or in almost communities of people where they just feel collectively it's hard to shift the dial on stuff. And actually what this report really tried to point out was, although we're sat in London and people often think that levelling up is a northern challenge, and it is, and I know that as much as anyone else. I grew up in Rotherham, just outside Sheffield, and we do a lot of work outside of the southeast. But actually what this report really wanted to highlight was that here in London and here in the southeast and in the east of England, there are severe, significant and structural levelling up challenges. Levelling up isn't just about the north, it's a national agenda and it's a national mission, and that's why your company, and I'll come on to this more in a second, has such a key role to play, because you serve many of those communities that are absolutely in need of levelling up. So it's not just a north issue, it's a southern issue, and it's an issue that absolutely is part of the region that UK Power Networks serves. And I think what we wanted to do with the Purpose Coalition was to bring together those leaders from not just business but also universities, also civil society, from the public sector as well, NHS trusts, local authorities, those leaders and those organisations that were really on the cutting edge but crucially also willing to challenge themselves and say, well, how can we work together on tackling equality of opportunity? So that's what the Purpose Coalition is all about, and how we chose to go about doing that was to not only bring people together to work more collectively, but then also for those individual organisations to really say to themselves, right, what's our contribution to this agenda? And we wanted to do that by simplifying what is a complex problem of levelling up. And our journey on this was that we got towards the end of last year, there was a lot of debate about what levelling up meant, and we decided to really run towards that challenge and to set out for ourselves what we think the levelling up agenda really means and what it means you have to do crucially in order to tackle it. And that's where the levelling up goals came from. And it's the levelling up goals that really are the framework around which this report has been structured, because what they do is they look at the different challenges as people go through their lives where gaps open up. It starts in early years, it goes into school years, it's then around the advice you get, it's around whether there are high quality paths for you to follow as a person on your choices in your career. It's around how easy it is to then connect up to opportunity, but not just getting into a career that you want, but then being able to get on in it. It's about the other things that people find that hold them back, whether it's the digital divide, whether it's the fact that they would like to set up their own business, but they just don't know anything about entrepreneurship really, because they've never really met people who run businesses and who started them for themselves. It's about health and well-being, and that's something that we focus on in this report again. So there are 14 levelling up goals, and that is an architecture that is now being used by not just UK Power Networks, but a variety of other businesses. They're being used by NHS Trust, they're being used by local authorities actually, who are saying, how do these relate to the place that we are serving as a local council? And in doing so, what they're able to do is to really start bringing people together in specific regions and specific places and on specific issues. It's enabling some really different actors who are in the same places to start to come together without it having to be top down, so that you can find one another through the common goals that you're working on and then start to align what you're doing more readily. And so it is like a million-piece jigsaw puzzle where bit by bit and organisation by organisation, we are literally doing each bit of the jigsaw puzzle. And this is the UK Power Network's beginning bit of its jigsaw puzzle. I'm really proud to be working with you as a business, because I remember, I think it was a virtual discussion I had with Basil, and then coming in to see him, Andrew, and the rest of the team. And as you started to go through the different parts of what this business was looking at, it was really clear to me that it really is already challenging itself, whether it's the work that it's doing in schools, whether it's some of the mentoring programs that it's got, whether it's a fantastic series of apprenticeship schemes it runs, the Leadership Academy that is then there and allowing people to really progress their careers in this industry through continuing to develop on more structured training through an apprenticeship, whether it's that wider work that UK Power Networks is doing in communities more broadly and really bringing alive that, yes, we're having an energy transition, and a big part of what Britain also needs to do is net zero, that actually this is a company that will use that work on net zero to also be a moment when it can help communities change more broadly to be fairer ones, and it can really make a difference on levelling up. I think the final reflection I've got on this builds on what I just said, really, which is this link between net zero and levelling up. These are the two great challenges of our time. It is about people and planet. And the unique chance you've got as a business is that really you're about both of them. And so it's not only a powerful lever for net zero, you genuinely can be an engine for social mobility, and one that others can look at and learn from in terms of how to do this. But I think you can also make a massive impact on the ground in communities that really need that work done. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to listening to the other contributions. Thank you again for your leadership, Basil. And looking forward to continuing to work with you on this agenda. Obviously, I think we all recognise that we're sort of at the beginning of a journey, aren't we, rather than the end of it. But it's a journey that we'll succeed on ultimately, I believe, because people make decisions that they are going to have things run differently. And a lot of those people who have the biggest impact, just as with climate change, are going to be people who run companies and people who are part of companies and people who decide that those companies can be bigger than just delivering what you deliver in your power network. So thank you very much, Basil, for your leadership, and I will hand over to you now.